Like, the rot started with RTE with the reliance on advertising revenue, this dual funding model. That's the justification of the deals with Renault, the deals with other car companies, the money under the table effectively to Ryan Tubridy, the flip-flops. All of that comes from we need to attract advertising revenue. The writing is on the wall for the TV licence. That's the reality of what's happening outside of this House. Hundreds of thousands of people are voting with their wallets and are boycotting the TV licence fee. That's what's happening. As a consequence of that act, there is a very significant debate in government, it seems, about what is going to come next. And that's really what we should be focused on today. We should have an acceptance that the TV licence has to go, there should be an amnesty for non-payers, and then from our point of view, and we've set it out in actually some detail, we need to build RTE for the people. We need to invest in public service broadcasting, a 100% publicly funded public service broadcasting, including money to local broadcasters, newspapers and so on, a fund that media outlets could apply to, and funding provided in what we outline by taxing the big social media companies and the big tech companies, a big tech tax to raise €1 billion to fund that. But unfortunately, that isn't the situation that we're in. Unfortunately, people are still being dragged through court, 60 people a day, to try and get them to pay this TV licence. That figure is going up. So it's probably now about 70 a day. In a couple of months, it'll be at 80 a day, 90 a day, 100 a day, and clog up our court system, huge amount of resources to try and extract this money from people that people do not want to pay and are refusing to pay. And that needs to stop. There needs to be an amnesty for those who are refusing to pay. Question arises, why are they refusing to pay? And obviously you can track, there's always been a level of non-payment, but that shot up dramatically after all of the scandal from RTE from last summer. It was people seeing the €75,000 secret payments to Ryan Tubridy. It was people seeing the €5,000 on flip-flops. It was people seeing the over €4,000 on membership of an exclusive club in London. It was people seeing public money being spent on wining and dining advertising executives, while ordinary RTE workers were facing pay cuts, journalists were forced to record in cafe toilets, and freelancers were paid as little as €120 for a report. So people are reacting in protest to that. And also, bluntly, they're reacting, and correctly so, against what is an unjust tax. I mean, the Minister herself earlier referred to it as a regressive tax. That is a scientifically correct term. The poorest family in the country which is eligible to pay pays the same amount for access to their to RTE public service broadcasting as the richest in the entire country. So it should be abolished. The objection the Minister raises is, well, if we have an amnesty for those who haven't paid, that's also very unfair on those who have paid. Okay. Do what you were forced to do on the water charges, forced to refund the money, including of those who have paid. Fine. If that's what it takes for it to be a fair abolition of this licence fee, well then let's do it. I think there's a big danger here. I think there were lots of right-wing politicians who actually salivated at the prospect of a scandal in RTE. Why? Because one, it took focus off themselves for a little while. I think they were delighted to have a scandal that didn't involve themselves. But two, because it actually provided an opportunity to pursue a pre-existing agenda, which is an anti-public service broadcasting agenda, and that is actually what we've been happening. In a way, we see here an example of the shock doctrine, that a crisis comes along and an opportunity to pursue a pre-existing agenda is pursued. Cut RTE down to size, significant cutbacks, that's what's happening, prospect of 400 jobs being gone, privatisation, and who's going to suffer? Not those at the top, not those who are responsible, not those responsible for the corporate culture and governance and so on, instead ordinary workers in RTE, and even more important than that, the public who will lose out in terms of reduced public service broadcasting as a consequence for that. So we need an absolutely alternative model. Where did this all come from? And I think actually at the Oireachtas committee, the Director of Commercial RT, Geraldine O'Leary, spelled it out. She said she was responsible for bringing in revenue of 1.65 billion. Part of that job is maintaining relationships, that is people selling to people. Like, the rot started with RTE with the reliance on advertising revenue, this dual funding model. That's the justification of the deals with Renault, the deals with other car companies, the money under the table effectively to Ryan Tubridy, the flip-flops. All of that comes from we need to attract advertising revenue. So the alternative is to scrap the regressive TV licence fee. It is to get rid of the reliance on advertising revenue and go for 100% properly publicly funded broadcasting. To have pay caps, nobody on more than €100,000 on RTE, to democratise the board of RTE, and then to make the big social media giants pay for it. Because the alternative to investing in public service broadcasting is relying on billionaires. Billionaires you can agree with a little bit or disagree with a little bit, Elon Musk or Zuckerberg or whoever else, but these people determining what kind of news, what kind of information, what kind of entertainment people are getting. And in reality, these social media giants are parasites on the media as a whole. So we need to tax those and use it to fund a full spectrum public service broadcasting right throughout the country.